Let's take what we've understood so far and light according to genre. Here we have a romantic comedy. There are no hard shadows. The light is diffuse, so we can see that the key light, lighting our lead actress, separates her head from the background with a good backlight, but her hair is prominent in the shot. The gold blonde hair is prominent, and the fill light has diffused the key light, so there's nothing harsh about the lighting. There's no high contrast. We don't expect a menacing scene to follow this. Here's a romance with the right guy. Bogey pouring a drink, Ingrid reminiscing. The light is soft, nothing glaring, but it's even. There's no high contrast, as opposed to Romance with the Wrong Guy, Robert Mitchum, where we see some contrast, pretty high contrast here with the light and the shadow, and we know there's nothing really good going through his mind. And if we're riding with Robert Mitchum, we're riding with the wrong guy in this shot because of the high contrast, the key light on the woman and Mitchum, barely lit by the fill light. It might all be key light. The high contrast is a noir type of lighting. So the genre we're looking at is obviously film noir. And this genre here, the doomed kind of noir Bonnie and Clyde look, although it's done in Gordon Willis type of underexposed lighting, the shadows are dark in the background, although they're enjoying their killing spree. We know this is a mixture of a romance between Dunaway and Beatty, but we can see with the dark tones that's a romance that's doomed. Here's what happens when you surprise the wrong guy. You just have key light and nothing else. Barely any backlight, no fill light. The light's low to accentuate the shadows in his eyes. So this is a noir picture, or maybe just a horror. Looking up at Private Trouble, another noir picture. Barbara Stanwyck, Double Indemnity. Look at the high contrast between the iron filigree and the light towel that she's in, showing that she's the main figure. We've got the key light, very little fill though in the background, showing us we're in the noir genre. But if we're going to juxtapose that with the romantic comedy genre, look at the difference here with Cary Grant. If we're laughing at the right guy, we got nothing but light here. Even the background is almost all lit, evenly lit, no shadows at all. And he's looking at the right woman, Irene Dunne. And look at this, we got the dog, the couch. They're both white. They practically all mix in together. The light is so bright. There is some backlight setting off her hair. So the fill and the key and everything is just pouring light on this romantic comedy. Now, if you're laughing at the wrong lawyer, who is the right guy, we've got Pesci here in My Cousin Vinny, and the courtroom is a courtroom that's lit comically in the sense that there are not any hard shadows. We've got it pretty evenly lit. Everybody is standing out. There's nothing dramatic in any high contrast lighting, unlike we have with Johnny Depp in this courtroom scene where we've chosen to cut half his face in shadow, meaning that our fill light suddenly comes in and dims down a bit, and the key light sets off in a hard contrast with a lot of light in the background, so he just looks more shadowy and portentously menacing. In a musical comedy, it's nothing but light. Shadows, we've abolished. So musical comedy, we're pouring on the key, the fill, the backlight, every light we can find. Singing in the Rain even. Even in the rain, we've got plenty of light. The water itself is lit. The water was provided by special effects, but it was mixed with milk so that the white texture could be reflected as the rain fell down. So we have plenty of light in this musical. The key light probably not as prominent, the fill light everywhere. If we're doing Cabaret as a musical, again, we want plenty of light. Even in this dark, noirish Weimar picture of Germany, look how well lit Liza Minnelli is. The contrast is provided mostly by her costume. And Mamma Mia, a perfect example of lighting for the musicals. It's nothing but diffuse light here. Just we're pouring in key light from the windows in the background with HMIs probably. But the scene itself in this attic room is nothing but fill light, soft, diffuse light to go with that musical feeling. If we're going for the magic moment in a fantasy picture, we want some contrast, but we want that light to be spectral. So we're looking at taking key light and passing it through either a mist or a lot of diffusion so we can get a fill light effect. The dreamy moment here, this is nothing but fill light. Very, very little key light to distinguish any harsh edges. If we want a dreamy moment with the voyeur, what we want is bathed light so that there are no shadows, because there is, even if it's a voyeur, a romantic desire. But if we want that dreamy romantic moment without the voyeur, here we have this deck, and we can see that the color temperature is lowered to make it richer and more passionate. But the light itself is nice and diffuse on the deck. There's no hard shadow, so we're guessing that this is mostly filled with the background of the city coming in. But here we are in our horror genre, which we'll be lighting for our own picture. Not so dreamy moment. So we're going to have a different lighting effect. What do we have here? We have a key light. We don't have any fill light. Barely have any backlight. The shadows are what we want in this sense. The shadow, so that when the voyeur stalker shows up, we just get a glance of light off his face, a glance off the victim's face, but it's all nothing but shadows after that. So it's key light, which emphasizes the hard contrast in the struggle. If we take the dark present in our horror genre, look at this. We got the key light kind of bounced off a bloody floor and nothing else. Dark future, dark sci-fi. Okay, we're going to have sharp light. We got the key light, a little fill light bouncing off his clothes, a little backlight to separate the hair. Well, here we have Anthony Perkins. So he's in a very cold light. So don't let Mama's boy get his hands on you. So we contrast his cold light with his warmer desires, and forbidden love turns out to be twisted on him with the woman who's in power, because in this passionate scene, the light is not really making us feel love. Instead, there's something twisted and weird about it. It's not red, it's more purple. And purple is more towards the higher end of the spectrum in the color temperature of light. So, although we're teasing with passion, we're looking at a cold passion, as we are in this forbidden love with the man in power in this black and white scene. We illumine her with the key, we light him with the fill, and it gives us this high contrast, the obsession, the darkness. And if we just want the shadow itself, it's nothing but a key light thrown over the figure looming in the doorway. Bad News loves big shadows and key lights, not to mention stairways. This, of course, we have a lot of fill light in here, but it was all amplified by the key light looking through the banisters. And silhouettes. We get the fog machine, the key light, and we have our classic noir ending. It can also be the beginning of romance, however. We have our silhouette against a light in the background, so what we have here is our key light coming from the background. Well, maybe we get rid of it. Maybe we just put the fill light in the background, forget about the key, and we have a silhouette. It would be a banal, mundane scene, except the fact that it's nothing but fill light in the background with no key, so it looks almost, it's almost like it's a dream sequence or something that doesn't look like it's going to end up happily. So it's a nice effect, isn't it? The lack of even lighting here gives us a kind of a foretelling of doom effect. When we look at lighting for genre, we always want to know our art history, and art history tells us the kind of mood and genre we could actually plug into. So here's a Jean-Baptiste Gros painting The Drunken Cobbler in late 17th century. It's a very moralistic painting. Look at the tones here. There's sepia tones, they're earth tones. And compare it to Matisse, who is less moralistic about the Drunken Cobbler. Here he's into the joy of life, early 20th century. Look at the colors there. A lot more lively and less dour. So we take Barfly, and we get this low spectrum, dour lighting, and we contrast it with an Almodovar movie, which is like Matisse, got the nice bright colors, giving us the romantic look we want. Or a Henry Fuseli painting from the late 18th century, The Nightmare. Look at the lighting, what he's got in this painting, and imagine all the horror movies that have copied this. And then look at a Norman Rockwell painting, Freedom from What, 1943. The painter that Spielberg and Lucas both admire, and just think of the family scenes they have in either Poltergeist and other movies, where it isn't the Fuseli dramatic high contrast nightmare scene. It's this well lit, evenly lit scene. Edward Hopper, an American painter, a lot of lighting people have copied throughout the last 100 years. Here's a painting of his New York movie, 1931. But look at the lighting here. He's got the somber tones in the movie theater, and we've got the golden tones of The Lonely Woman off right. And he's just done this all by lighting. He takes the warm tones versus the dark tones, and we can see that with the lighting in his paintings, people try to copy it literally here in the upper picture and the lower picture, trying to get that tungsten feeling and balancing it out. But see, he's got that greenish yellow kind of indoor lighting in the painting, just what we try to imitate here on set. And here we can see by the lighting this kind of brownish sepia tones. We're talking historical remembrance scene, a scene that's not high contrast, as opposed to this horrific scene here, which is nothing but contrast, colder light. And here we have a paranormal scene where the light is in that upper region of cold to ultraviolet. But notice the warm bed to the right, showing that this kid, his real life, the warm life, is suddenly going to go to another dimension. And Cary Grant here being obsessed, passionate, warm tones, but against a green light, showing that what he's fighting is a colder menace. And Y Tu Mama Tambien goes through the whole spectrum here, where they meet at a party, and it's just nice evenly lit scene, and then it seems kind of well balanced, nothing dramatic. But as we get into love scenes, it gets warmer, and then suddenly outside the dangerous scenes where there's conflict because two guys and one woman, we go colder. And finally, back in the love scene, we get warmer again. Single source bulb light, letting us just do diffuse light, fill light. Again, back in the bedroom, warmer, nothing but fill light, with a little key light coming off to the left. Brando and Last Tango in Paris, a kind of strange romance, but here, sulking even, but in the warm, rich tones, telling us it is a romance, although dark. I thought I'd end this little talk here by looking at American Mary, the horror movie I saw last night, where just early on in the movie we can tell it's going to be a horror movie. Look at the lighting here; it's high contrast. We've got key light, little bit of fill, in almost all the scenes here. No matter what happens, we're making sure that it's not a balanced light. It's just picking up points here, of course, the red outfit, and making it so it's a high contrast, showing there's a lot of conflict going on. And so when you do your horror movie, as we proceed through this class, just think of the great horror movies like we have here with Mia Farrow and Rosemary's Baby, and just look at the lighting in this scene alone, how it makes it look as if something bad is about to happen.